Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a kind-hearted shoemaker who spent his days making shoes for the royal family. The shoemaker had one son, and from the time he could walk, the boy would sit in the corner of the workshop making tiny shoes for dolls. As the boy grew older, he became the best shoemaker in the kingdom. His shoes were famous throughout the land for their quality and craftsmanship. When he was finished, he took them to the princess, and she was overjoyed. Over the next few months, the young shoemaker made many more pairs of shoes for the princess. Everyone in the kingdom was talking about the beautiful shoes he had made for the princess, and people from all over came to the kingdom just to see them. The young shoemaker had become famous throughout the land simply because of the princess's love of his shoes. Each pair was more beautiful than the last, and soon the princess had a whole new wardrobe of exquisite shoes. The princess stopped at the bottom of the stairs and turned to face the young shoemaker. She took off one of her shoes and dropped it at his feet. The young shoemaker looked down and saw that the heel of the shoe was broken. Then she put on her other shoe and rejoined the party. The young shoemaker stood there watching her and couldn't help but smile. He had made the princess happy, and that was all that mattered. He felt bad because he had made the shoe and it had broken. The young shoemaker became famous throughout the kingdom, and people came from all over just to see the shoes he had made for the princess. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl, and they lived happily ever after. Well, not really. The princess died of cancer that same night. The young shoemaker was devastated, but he knew that she had lived a good life and had made a difference in the world. He continued to make shoes for her until the end of her life, and he never forgot the beautiful princess who had loved his shoes. But the princess was the one who truly understood the value of the young shoemaker's work. She knew that he had a gift for making shoes, and she wanted to help him share that gift with the world. So she began to promote his work, and soon he became famous throughout the land. He wanted to fix it, but he didn't know how. The Colosseum was decorated with gold and jewels, and the king and queen sat on a throne at the top of the stairs leading down to the ballroom floor. All the girls in the kingdom attended the party wearing their finest dresses and, of course, the most beautiful handmade shoes. The shoes were even more beautiful than she had imagined. Suddenly, he saw the princess enter the ballroom. She was wearing a beautiful white dress and the most exquisite pair of shoes he had ever made. She saw the young shoemaker and smiled. She then began to walk down the stairs to meet him. They were made of the finest leather and decorated with intricate hand stitching and delicate lace. The princess tried them on and twirled around in delight. The shoemaker panicked and didn't know what to say. They couldn't believe that the princess had broken one of her own shoes, and they were curious to see how he would fix it. The shoemaker worked quickly and efficiently, and soon the shoe was good as new. When he was finished, he presented it to the princess, and she slipped it back on her foot. He looked at the shoe and then back at the princess. Finally, he nodded and said, "Of course." He took the shoe from her and quickly began to repair it. The shoes fit perfectly and made her feel like a real princess, but the young shoemaker remained humble and continued to make shoes by hand, one pair at a time. One day, a messenger arrived at the workshop with a summons from the king. The king had heard of the young shoemaker's skill and wanted him to make a pair of shoes for his daughter, the princess. The princess was known throughout the kingdom as the richest girl in the world. She owned more shoes than anyone else, all of them handmade by the best shoemakers in the kingdom. But no one had ever made her shoes like the way the young shoemaker did. The young man accepted the invitation and went to the palace, where he met the princess. She showed him her collection of shoes and told him she wanted something special, something no one else could make. The young shoemaker looked at the princess's collection and thought about what he could make for her. Finally, he had an idea. He would make her a pair of shoes that were unlike any other shoes she had ever seen before. Shoes that were so beautiful, they would become the most beautiful shoes in the world. The young shoemaker got to work and spent days creating the most exquisite pair of shoes he had ever made in his life. The princess loved the shoes so much that she decided to keep them and commissioned the young shoemaker to make more pairs. But the princess wasn't the only one who was happy with the young shoemaker's work. At that time, the princess organized the charity gala in the biggest Colosseum in the kingdom. All the aristocrats of the kingdom were invited. The young shoemaker was also invited to the party, and he stood nervously at the bottom of the stairs, watching all the beautiful women walk past him. All the ladies in attendance gasped when they saw the princess coming down the stairs. They knew that something important was about to happen. The princess looked at the shoemaker and said, "Can you fix my shoe?" Everyone in the room was watching the shoemaker work. "Thank you," she said. You have saved the day." From that day on, the princess never took off her shoes again. Many years passed, and the young shoemaker and the princess fell in love and got married.